Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome everyone. So today we have finished lesson 2 and today I'm going to explain the lesson again in a video recording for you to study and revise. But before starting the lesson, I would like to go back to the first lesson and have a quick background check. So like we have been talking in the class about the start of or the life of the Arabs in the past and how they were living and what are the challenges that they have been facing. So first off, um, we are talking about the Arabs that have inhabited the Arabian Peninsula. All right, here we can underline, and that the Arabs were predominantly nomadics, or in other words, in very basic in living, and there are no signs of development or any developed um, culture. So they have used to raise animals and plant food. There was no factories or industries at that time, but the region has been facing many challenges that we underlined and talked about very much. So first, we have the challenge of the social, on the social aspect here in page 9. So the region faces the challenge of forming new government. So it seems that the governments that lead those regions did not meet the inspiration of people or did not meet the desire or the need of the people. For example, this is clear in Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq. Moving forward, there was more challenges like poverty, for example, and maybe unemployment, and also um, the global competitiveness and such things. So today we have started page 10 that uh, has a bit of a bright side, which is the education. So gladly, the education has become developed, has experienced remarkable development. So it has been noticed that in the Arab region, the education has been better, all right, and many adolescents have received the needed education. So um, grown-ups and old people have been taught and learned how to write and how to read, yet the employment rate has not changed, and that it is like that for some reasons that we already asked for you to write in your notebook and give answers so we can discuss in next class. The question was, why is the unemployment rates in the Arab region are the highest in the world? So why can they not find any work? This will be checked in next class and also discussed. As for the second question, what are the challenges that face Arab region? This will be your questions for the unit. I will check it, inshallah, maybe next week or the week after. So these are the questions you can write now in your notebook and prepare answers. Moving forward in the page, um, in most Arab countries, there was another challenge more than the previous ones we talked about. Other than poverty, other than the government, there was more issues that they needed to address, which are water has become a critical nature or critical resource because it's very rare in Arab region due to its desert and mild climate or hot climate. The water supply is decreasing. So uh, there are many countries that are labeled as arid or semi arid, which means they're dry. They do not have much source of water. So this has been a very big issue for the Arab region, and the water was also limited. And 13 out of 22 Arab countries have severe water uh, scarcity or in very much of a need for water. So we can say, for example, 60% to 65% of the region need water more than the others, or critically in need for water to survive. Next paragraph is also another challenge, which is the building capacity building. So it is a process. The definition for this word, it is a process that helps the individual or even um, big companies, organizations to advance or succeed in missions efficiently, effectively. But how? It is done through a way that is providing more access to information. It also helps with enhancing resilience in the face of climate change, which in other words mean that it will help the country to survive more, to um, stay um, stay safe, as they say. Also, it benefits from global sustainable goals. So we need this capacity building to achieve the goals in the region and national policy processes that best match the needs of people. So this capacity building also matches the need of the people. It's something like developing um, developing the skills of the population or um, the specialty. So this is it for capacity building. There are a diagram here down. We can look at it. Training. So this is a training that helps with the skills and improve the skills of the population so we can face those climate changes, so we can succeed in goals, so we can do anything challenging. So there are several steps to reach the capacity building. First, by training or learning, by having source of information, knowledge, by practicing skills, coaching, by support from family or friends, and also by development, by succeeding achievements, and so on. So moving forward to page 11, I believe. Okay, so in page 11, lesson 2 that we started today, I'm going to read and then explain forward what the paragraph has in store for us. The Arab region has been a land of continuous conflict. So this is a fact that we need to understand. Uh, the region, the Arab region, has been in constant war. There has always been fight happening in this region. For example, after World War II, most Arab countries were involved in armed struggles that had a devastating impact on Arab society. So this has affected the society and have been the main contributor in increasing poverty, for example. This also answers the questions I asked today: poverty, um, unemployment, inequality, poor education, and health. So, what is the main cause? It is conflict or wars, in other words, has been the main contributor. It's not the only reason, but it is the most important reason. Amongst these wars were those that took place in Lebanon, Yemen, and Sudan, with their dates. You can check the dates and find out more about these wars. For example, in Lebanon, from 1975 to 1990, you can look up which kind of war that has happened in that time and maybe give us more information about it. And so we can understand more how did it inflict damage on the society, how did it affect the region. Also, moving forward to the last paragraph in this square, a major conflict that has affected the Arab world as a whole is that of Palestine. So This is one of the most important subjects that we need to address. The war in Palestine has affected the entire region, and the Arab world has been beset by the establishment of the state Israel in historic Palestine. So, the standing of the state of Israel is um, the reason for the downfall of Palestine and on a broader range, the Arab region. The dispute has never been resolved. So there has been no agreement. There was constant war, and its impact on Palestine has been very devastating. So this has devastated the country, the region, and it is still ongoing. Hundreds and thousands of Palestinians have become refugees in neighboring countries. They have fled the country to survive the war or have to spread to other countries around the world. All right. There is an overview of the different wars. Here we have examples of the war that we underlined here before. The Lebanese Civil War that broke on 1975, and it soon involved all different sects and classes in the country. So not only the poor or the rich, all of them. The war has ended after members of the Lebanese parliament signed the Taif Accord in 1989. So the war has lasted for around 15 years to 14 years. The Taif Accord promised restoration of Lebanon's political and administrative institutions, reformation of the political system, and restitution of Lebanese independence. So, in other words, a new government. Okay, this is the issue of the people of the region to form a government that meets the needs of the people. The other war, the Yemeni civil war, was mainly caused by systematic economy and political failure in the country. So it hasn't been much uh, of a region thing. It has been more about management. There has been failures in the economic aspect and political failure of this country. The failure caused upheavals, violence, and uh, institutions collapsing over the years. So there has been uh, development going in the opposite way. Okay, so they are becoming less developed. The war in Yemen calmed down and re-erupted at several intervals. So it hasn't been much constant. There was times that the war was cold or has been calm, then it erupted again. Attempts at identifying solutions helped in reaching a consistent formula that depended on the government. Decentralization proved the access to healthcare and education, and several other reforms. Still, the situation in Yemen remains unstable. So there has been attempts to help the education, to help the healthcare, but there was still some things that could not change. And the state of Yemen is not stable. The war might erupt again, might never stop. Um, the last war that happened in the Arab region, or the one that we will talk about, is the Sudan Civil War. It erupted in 1980. As you guys can notice, all the dates are similar. They are in the same period. They are at the same time. So um, um, there has been issues happening in the Arab region consequently at the same time. It was the second civil war in the country. So it hasn't been the first, but the second. The war erupted between the government in Khartoum and the Sudan People Liberation, the Liberation Army. So it has happened between the government and the army, and it lasted for 22 years. The conflict caused the death of 2 million and led to declaring South Sudan an independent nation. So this country has been divided in regards for this war, for this civil war. Okay, as you guys can notice, most of these wars are civil. There was no outside affairs. There was no There was no intervening by outsiders or other countries or foreign countries. It has been just the Arabs fighting each other. They're having conflict between themselves, and this conflict has caused the death of millions. So this can show us the value of understanding. The declaration came 6 years after the signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, which ended the civil war in 2005. So almost 18 years ago, the war has ended in Sudan, and hoping that after that time, it has been developed, it has becoming more successful, and no war has been happening. So I think we are going to stop here. There is still one more page that we need to address, but I will leave that for next class, inshallah. As for now, we will stop here after explaining all of these wars that affected the region, that has decreased the development of the region, also that contributed to the unemployment, contributed to the poverty, contributed to the devastation of the region. That's it for now, guys. If you have any questions, I will be more than glad to help you inside my class. See you later.